downpours kind of mixed in a little bit. So be aware that this won't be a guaranteed just light rain situation. We actually have some storms that are certainly possible in the afternoon. So just kind of keeping connected. We're keeping an eye on things as we move through the rest of the day. If you're heading out to the rodeo, obviously the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about that a lot. We'll look for some warm temperatures right around 80 degrees for the high. And those showers are certainly going to be something that's happening. But remember, I always say, you know, there's rare instances in which you need to change your plans as far as the rodeo is concerned with the weather. There's plenty of indoor activities that are happening out there, and most of the time it's on again, off again type of showers. While I do think there could be some heavier downpours, a little bit of storms, it won't be long-lived, and as I mentioned, there's plenty of spaces to kind of get cover for if you need to. So if you want to go to the rodeo, don't let today's forecast, or really any forecast this week, alter that for sure. So the next couple of days, we've talked about the rain possibly for today and the overcast sky. Tomorrow, the heat is on. We're turning the temperatures up to the mid-80s. We could be setting some record highs. And then when we take a look at Wednesday, another warm day, muggy again, our chances of rain will be even just perhaps a little bit less. So high temperatures yesterday were just shy of 80 for most of us. There was a little less clouds up to the north, and even out in Katy got a little bit of a break with some clouds and caught a little extra sunshine. That allowed you folks to get up into the 80s. The rest of us, where we saw the cloud cover, weren't able to get as warm or as we stayed cooler. We weren't able to warm up as much because we didn't have as much sunshine. Such a mild morning this morning with our temperatures just stuck in the upper 60s, could not drop past that. A lot of that having to do with all the humidity that's out there. That also contributes to why we had the dense fog advisory and the fog that was around. When I've been talking to you the last couple of days, we've been talking about Wharton. We're just kind of giving Wharton a little bit of a break. I think it needs, the thermometer down in Wharton needs a little bit of a timeout. It is not 16 degrees down in Wharton, and we're just sort of going to let Wharton do its thing, not going to worry about it, and maybe it'll come back around here and start getting some more accurate readings. But currently, we're in the mid-70s, and as I mentioned, we're on our way up to the 80s, especially if we do see just a little bit of peak of some sunshine. Even without a whole lot, we're going to be able to make it up to 80 with all the warm temperatures that we have, and this air coming in off of the Gulf is going to continue to make it help it with that. And compared our temperatures to 24 hours ago, we are warmer right now. So I talked about how mild this morning was. That certainly sets us up for that. So the bigger picture here is we're still looking for those scattered showers and storms possible the rest of today. We look for record high temperatures possible for tomorrow. Overall, our pattern is somewhat unsettled. We're not going to be able to just have some guaranteed rain-free days. I think you'll probably slip one or two in there, depending on where you are, but maybe not all of us able to do that. But I do think we're getting set up for a fairly pleasant weekend, and that's going to have to do with the front that's coming later in the week. And we'll dive into all that here as we move through the next few minutes. There's the radar along with the temperatures. We talked about how mild it is, how warm it is. When we get a little bit of a closer look here, you can see our rain that's kind of moving through. And I do have, again, a close-up. You can see a little bit of the red and yellow. That's a pretty good downpour, but it's very isolated, and it's moving where it's not causing really any sort of problems. And these are the kind of setup that we're looking for the rest of the afternoon, where if we do see some rain, it could be a bit of a downpour, but overall, we're looking for just sort of a rainy, cloudy afternoon. The heavier the storms will be over into Louisiana, and you can kind of see some of those showers and storms firing up a bit. When we look across the state, the majority of Texas is mild today. Like us, you see a little bit cooler up in Amarillo. There is a front that will more or less be coming in tomorrow that'll help kind of shift the winds briefly. This front's not really going to make it down, as we've talked about the temperatures, not really bring cooler air for us, but a brief shifting of the winds. Now, I talked about the fact that at the surface, our winds are coming in out of the southeast. That's bringing in that moisture off the Gulf of Mexico. But notice all this cloud cover kind of rolling in from the west. This is the upper levels of the atmosphere when we use our water vapor imagery. That's why it looks black and white, and we can see where the moisture is. That's a lot of those upper level clouds. That's just helping to keep things unsettled in general. So for today, our severe outlook, this is a Futurecast product that you're looking at here. So this isn't current radar, but you can see where all of the storms are expected to be a little bit more focused. And look back towards Austin at the end of the day. See that little storm kind of flaring up here? That's going to kind of be what we look for late in the evening as to see if these storms will hold together. I don't think that they're going to be able to hold it together all the way to Houston, and I think the stronger storms will stay north of us. But the Storm Prediction Center puts a pretty large area here in this 1 out of 5 risk for severe storms. So that's going to be gusty winds, large hail, damaging winds, and as well as the large hail as a possibility. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about the severe weather potential. Relatively low, but it's certainly not zero. So kind of keep that in mind a bit. So in the downtown Houston area, we're looking at south winds around 9 miles an hour. Our dew points, that's that measure of humidity, very humid. So upper 60s, and this would be more of a pattern that we would see in the summertime than necessarily now. Speaking of heavy, our pollen counts are up. Pretty much all of the trees are beginning to get a little bit more active here as far as putting out some of that pollen in the air, but it's the oak. It's one of those that's very visible that we can see always, and that's what's the highest amount right now going on. Our weed has gone down, and the grass and the mold has also dropped some. So other levels besides the trees are certainly dropping. Futurecast shows continued spots here where we see these little isolated heavy downpours, and then I think we get a bit of a break as we get to the evening hours, and then closer into 10 or midnight, that's when you look to the far northwest there and see those heavier storms trying to get organized. But I really do think they're going to fall apart, but maybe we'll keep at least some drizzle in the forecast for tonight, and then also that carries over into some more fog possibilities for tomorrow morning. And then we're looking for those record highs. Now, we do have some chances for rain tomorrow, but the majority of what's happening around will be to our north and to our east. So we'll see some stormier weather again for Louisiana, but we'll sort of miss out on most of that. But I have to keep at least a chance of rain in there. So this is that unsettled pattern. The front, we're still adjusting the timing on exactly when it gets here, but before the front gets, when the front gets here, that's going to be some higher chances of rain. But look what happens on the weekend. First of all, our temperatures drop. No longer are we in the 80s. We're even probably in the 60s for our highs on Saturday. And those overnight lows finally able to drop down out of the 60s. We'll be looking for mornings on Saturday and Sunday in the 50s. So be connected today as we're moving through the rest of the day. The Fox 26 weather app is a great way to kind of see those showers and where they are. If there were to need to be any alerts for severe weather, you'd be able to manage that as well. So maybe you're already watching me on the Fox 26 News app. Well, you can also watch me just like now on the Fox 26 weather app. So get that downloaded, and it has a much better connection with our radar than our news app does. I know there's a lot of apps that we're talking about, but when we want a good radar, you got to go to the weather app in order to get that. So look for the Fox 26 weather app. You'll get that radar, and you'll be able to track that. And you'll really, again, probably be using it later in the week as well, but certainly today as we watch the rain kind of moving through the area. All right, about 20 minutes until noon. That's when I expect to see you right back here, however you're watching me right now, and we'll do Fox 26 News at noon.